Shall we begin?
You are now listening to an altogether less fashionable variety of soccer podcast. Broadcasting live from the capital city of Columbus, Ohio. Welcome to
ACES Radio.
I got the new wings with the Zima flavor sauce.
I've given this no thought whatsoever.
Hashtag probably riding cock.
They're in your face. They're a little different. I think it's super cool. I love them. Jamie, ignorant slut.
Hold on to your butts.
Now, here are your hosts.
Not Morgan Hughes. Rest.
John Zadar. And Darby Schnarpus.
Greetings, edgelords, shitlords, and bezlords. If you're hearing the sound of my voice, why? 160 times. You have had 160 opportunities to not listen to the trash pocket known as ACES Radio, and yet here you are, showing an astounding level of bad taste. One nearly unprecedented in the history of podcast listeners, John, from what I understand. We're here. It's October 8th, if you care about that sort of shit, but it's also just another Thursday in the pandemic era. So let's check in with everybody here and make sure that everyone is still alive. Speaking of people who've almost died recently, Brent, how are things with you?
Things are all right. I mean, sports are stupid. I'm not sure why anybody watches them or finds them entertaining, but, other than that, things are great.
And can confirm. How's the arm doing? I've seen a lot of you lately, but tell our listeners how things are going.
Yeah, no, the arm's okay. There's no pain. There's no soreness, anything associated with it. Just waiting on medical clearances, which hopefully I can get the brace off tomorrow and keep it off. So we'll see.
Do you get to keep the brace? Like, can you have it just to have like a badass robot arm around?
I mean, I'm pretty sure I paid for it, so I would hope I get to keep it.
I will say, I will be glad when your brace is off, because the other day, when you asked me to rub lotion on your butthole,
no,
I did not enjoy that conversation.
You offered that, and I said, no, I don't need you to do that. I've asked you many times to not do that.
Really glad I didn't come to watch the Montreal game with you guys.
Yeah, I got a little bit uncomfortable. Drabs was trying to look up more porn on the projector. He was offering to rub cream on people's buttholes. He was a little crazy.
It's out of control, huh?
I mean,
yeah.
we had another conversation about the arm cock and what sort of websites that leads to when you throw it in your search engine.
You had another conversation about it?
Another conversation about the arm cock, yes. We can't get enough arm cock, as it turns out.
I am sad I missed that.
Yeah. But yeah, I also gave Brent, not even thinking, I just gave him a bottle of bug spray. It's like, here you go, buddy. And he's sort of sitting there looking vaguely sad with the bug spray in his one good arm. I think he worked it out on the way to getting his. You had hot dogs. Do you want to tell everybody about your Tommy dog experience?
Fuck is the Tommy dog? Oh, is that from Tommy's Pizza?
No, it's from a restaurant called Tommy's Dogs. Yet they were hot dogs, and there were different toppings, and they were okay. That was my experience.
You just described every hot dog place ever.
Yes.
Like from Skyline through all of the artisanal hipster hangouts that have ever been created. They all have mediocre hot dogs, and they throw some things on top.
Yep.
It's good summation.
The life of a hot dog restaurant.
Yep. All right. How are you doing, John? What's new in your life?
Oh, I'm just doing fine. Applying for jobs, that old grind, doing that thing, trying to figure out why, it's been 8 weeks and I haven't received any of my unemployment that I filed for. Fun stuff, Darby, fun stuff.
John, from what I understand, they're already paying out that extra $300 or whatever that they said people were going to get months ago. If you haven't gotten money, it's clearly your fault.
Obviously, although the nice woman I talked to on the phone today said the exact opposite, so I don't know what to believe anymore. I voted yesterday. That was nice. Got that out of the way. Got that done. No stress for me.
And you got through pretty quickly?
Oh, yeah, I did. I drove by probably around like 1:30 on my way up to Sarah's house. Then we had some lunch, and then we hopped in the car and went back down there. Because the line I said looked like it was pretty, it was kind of long, but it was moving while I got stopped at that light right outside the BOE, there on Morse, and the line was basically more of just like a kind of a marching line than a standing still line. I mean, I don't think it was stationary at any point. And then we got there, and I think literally from the time we got in the back of the line to the time we got our sticker and we're walking back out to the car, it was maybe 20 minutes. It was super fast. Super fast, felt super safe, really good procedures, stickers on the floor telling you 6 feet, everybody's wearing masks, people were working the line outside and inside, making sure people were wearing their masks and following the rules and everything. They had little, they were handing out single individual, what are they called, styluses, so you can use to sign your name on the tablet when you check in, things like that. So I really have no criticisms. I don't know what they could have possibly done to make it more efficient or safer. It was a really good experience.
Oh, fantastic. I legitimately hope that everybody across the state has a similar experience. I don't know how much of that is a function of being in Franklin County versus, maybe other counties that don't have the resources, but it is very gratifying to hear that they're making the best of the situation and, that you felt safe and well taken care of.
It was great because, and also just like there was a lot of people out. I mean, like so far it seems like there's been a consistent crowd throughout since voting started a couple days ago, which is typically when I go to. I'm a big early voter. I usually try to go like within the first week that early voting starts, and oftentimes I'm like one of maybe 5 to 10 people that are there voting. But I drove by a couple days this week, was there once, saw stuff on the news. It seems like there's consistently been pretty heavy traffic going in and out of there. So it sounds like lots of people are getting involved, which is good.
Nice. Yeah, we got our absentee ballots in the mail the first day that they were going out. We got ours. They were correct, which is a relief. Remember, if you got an absentee ballot in the mail, double check and make sure you're listed in the proper district, because some people have gotten some misaddressed ballots. So do definitely check that. And if something is wrong, you can contact the Board of Elections and get some stuff.
I believe I saw that they had,
understand.
I believe I saw that they had already planned to send out corrected ballots to everybody who received one that was marked in error. So I don't know if you still need to follow up or what. You have to look into it, but I think I saw that on Twitter today.
Yeah, I think they did indicate they're aware of everybody who got the wrong ballot, but it probably can't hurt to double check if that would make you feel more comfortable. And in-person voting is still an option, especially if you got one of the mislabeled ballots. But yeah, thankfully we got ours just fine, so we're gonna fill them out here shortly and then probably run them up to the drop box this weekend. So yeah, otherwise, we keep upgrading our outside watch party game because, as we'll discuss here in a little bit, we had an absolute shit show for the Dallas game where my Wi-Fi decided to act like AOL dial-up from 1995. So now we have the projector, we have a screen hanging from the garage, and we have a hardwired line that goes out so that it's not reliant on Wi-Fi. Next step, John, we're going to build walls and install some theater seats and an air conditioning system, I believe.
Well, Darby, at that point, that's just called watching it inside, and I'm not sure that that's what you want.
Yeah, you may be right. Okay. Moving the fuck on. So there were 2 games this week. We're not going to break them down in any detail individually, basically because the first game, all 3 of us were watching in my house, and we saw yellow blobs kicking white blobs to other yellow blobs, mostly. And then the second game, nobody wants to talk about because it was terrible, Brent, as you may recall. In the times when you weren't watching your Yankees, the crew were doing things that weren't really great. So is there anything in particular to start off with that either of you guys want to bring up, either about one game or the other, or just collectively about what went on in those 2 games?
I will say, and completely unrelated to the crew news, Ben Olsen has just been fired by DC United, which is...
Oh, yes. But he's still a part of the organization.
What does that even mean, Darby?
I don't know. It's like when I split up with my ex and we still had real estate together, and so I couldn't afford to move out. So we just lived hostilely in the same house, I guess.
Club statement indicated that Olsen and the club are working together to determine a new role for him within the organization. So, interesting. Sounds like they value him in some capacity, just not a coaching one. Weird. That's weird.
Yeah, and if I'm Ben Olsen, what job am I going to take with the front office after they've said you're not good enough to be coach? Like, don't make me be brand ambassador, because I will be the shittiest brand ambassador ever at that point. Like,
well,
this
yeah,
team fucking sucks.
It's like, if you're not, like, it seems weird that he would just be like, I'm giving up on my coaching aspirations and I'm just going to go into front office work. Like, outside of like maybe being like a technical director or something like that, I don't see how this advances his coaching career. I would assume this is like the end of his coaching career. Weird.
Maybe he just wants to draw a salary for a while and, not have to work for it.
Perhaps, yeah. Anyways, sorry, I'll get us back.
No, that's good.
Get back on track.
All right. Well, Brent, since John immediately veered us off topic, do you have any thoughts about either of the games that you want to talk about in particular? I mean, there's a double comeback in Dallas. There was shitty officiating all around. Thierry Henry probably scored on Matt Lamson while we weren't watching. What would you like to talk about?
I'd like to talk about the alleged shitty officiating in the Dallas game for a little bit.
Okay. Wait, you're saying allegedly shitty, so you don't believe it was shitty?
Well, I want to talk about it, Drabs.
Okay.
Here we go. So we can get into that.
Oh my God, the scorching hot takes are getting ready to flow, ladies and gentlemen. Go for it.
All right. I don't know. Let's go into, first of all, the room yellow card. I think that was one of the big things that everybody was kind of bitching about. So it was pointed out that in the laws of the game, they do say that the keeper has to be on the line.
When the play is about to happen.
He can't let the play start if the keeper's not on the line. He tells the keeper to get on the line so that he can start the play, and the keeper doesn't listen multiple times. I'm not saying that, he should have been that quick with that yellow, but it is technically the rule. It's the rule. Like, that's the rule. You can't complain about getting a yellow when you've been asked multiple times. I don't think that one was that big of a deal, as big of a deal as people were making it out to be.
It's also just a yellow on a goalkeeper. Like, why do we even care about that anyways? Like, there couldn't be a more irrelevant card to be handed out in a game than a yellow to a goalkeeper.
Sure, because it's very easy to get the good behavior yellow back at some point, even if you manage to get in yellow card accumulation trouble
right
over the course of a season.
Right.
Yeah, it seemed like there was some posturing going on there. I don't know if we've gotten any official quotes about it. I think Room was kind of annoyed with the situation and the officiating. if the shooter was ready, if the referee is in position, and then the goalkeeper is still standing basically with his butt on the net, I think that's one thing. But I feel like maybe both sides kind of overreacted to what was going on there. Maybe as a keeper, you get to a point where if the ref is yelling at you, you're just like, fuck you, I'm going to stay here and take this yellow. Who knows what kind of mind games are going on there. But yeah, like it seemed petty on both individuals' parts, if I'm entirely honest. I'm not that upset about it. But, I think people had concerns with the officiating in other contexts, and so that was just, one of the things that stood out because the camera's focused on that whole situation the whole time. What else do you think about the officiating from that game, Brent?
All right, so let's move to the next call that the other big call that everybody's going to point out kind of nonstop, and that was the goal that was called back because they reviewed and called Luis Diaz offside. I want to hear your guys' thoughts before I say what I think.
Okay.
I think Luis Diaz was offside.
I think I'm not fully sure, actually, because the television angle they had wasn't great. What I think I saw was in a league where they're constantly keeping the flag down and making guys make runs that have no point when someone's clearly offside, Diaz ran all the way in, crossed the ball, there was a goal. The AR was actually in a really good position. He was on that same near side of the field. He was running right with the play. He never put his flag up at any point. The head ref never put his, made a motion at any point to indicate something was wrong. And given the bad television angle, I don't think there's clear and obvious evidence to say he was offside. John, you seem pretty comfortable in an offside call. What to you in that shot makes you say that?
I don't think that the TV angle is that bad at all. I think it seems pretty obvious if you look at it based on where his feet are that he's ahead of the two defenders there. I mean, there's even like the football lines drawn on the field in this game. Not that they're super helpful in this shot because you can't really see. He's in between like the 5-yard markers, but I think it seems pretty obvious. We know that the rule is that they let the play proceed until there's a ball stoppage. I don't know what the point of doing that is. I still fail to see how that is, what that adds or how that helps the game playing it back that way. I'm not surprised that the center ref didn't make the call because I'm looking at the freeze frame right now of Pedro Santos making the pass, and it's literally Pedro's foot is touching the ball. It's about to leave him. Diaz is in his offside position, and the ref is currently looking at Pedro. So there's no way that the center ref was ever going to make the call. He's not watching. He's trusting his AR to do his job.
Which he should. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I have no problem with that. And the AR is right there. He's right there in line with Diaz. I mean, he's in position to make the call, and he does. And am I frustrated by it? Sure, yeah, I am. But the only person I'm frustrated with is Luis Diaz. I mean, he can see straight across the field. He knows where the defenders are, and he's choosing to make his run too quickly. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cut and dry. I didn't from the freeze frame that I saw, and then I'm looking at right this second. I think it seems pretty clear that he's offside. So I'm interested to hear what else Brent has to say because I frankly didn't think the refereeing was that bad in this game either. But everyone else seems to be screaming about it.
All right, Brent, your rebuttal. I'll allow 90 seconds with no interruptions.
Yeah, I don't give a shit what you'll allow. Yeah, no, my thoughts are
though, Brent. How about
my thoughts
no
are pretty
interruptions,
similar
John.
to John's.
Excuse me, Mr. Vice President.
You're doing
Darby,
exactly
you
what you just said
up.
you weren't going to do, Darby.
Mr. Vice President, please, Mr. Vice President.
Hey, Brent is speaking.
Yeah, thank you, John. I appreciate that.
Okay, go ahead, Brent. I'll allow it now.
All right. No, my thoughts are nearly identical to John's. I think it was pretty easy to tell that Luis Diaz was offside. I mean, you could make the argument that based on the TV angle that they kept showing for the replay, that you probably can't call that clear and obvious error. But I don't know. To me, it seems pretty easy for me to look at that and say he was offside. So I'm not sure why that was, again, another call that everybody was focused on, other than the fact that it directly took a goal off the scoreboard.
Which ultimately got made back in the long run.
Yes. So, I mean, yeah, so you that would have been, that would have been the difference between a win and a draw. But he was offside. Caleb Porter was talking. I don't think he said anything in the post-game comments. I think it came out the next day. Might be wrong about that, but I know he said for sure one way or another that goal should not have been taken off. And I just don't know how you as a coach look at that video and don't see that your guy was offside. So in the Dallas game, officiating definitely not as much of a factor as as most people are making it out to be. Was Ted Uncle bad? Yeah, he's inconsistent. He always has been. He always will be. He's not a good referee. But he was not so bad that you can blame him for the result of the game.
Yeah, neither of those calls led to Dallas scoring. And that was the real problem, the fact that Dallas was having no problem scoring on the Crew. I mean, maybe people were just looking for refs to bail the team out or something. I don't think you overturned the Diaz offside call because I just don't think there was clear evidence to the contrary, and they let it run into a goal. But yeah, this is not something I'm certainly willing to die over.
So you think that they should have let the goal stand? Is that what you're saying, Darby?
Yeah, right. I think they should have. I don't think it was so clear to say he was offside. I frankly would love for them to get better sideline camera technology that could, do a better job of being able to do this instead of, trying to overlay fake lines and estimate and using computer models and shit.
I'm honestly not sure why part of the VAR system isn't a series of stationary cameras that are set up to look straight across the field, maybe like 4 or 5 of them along the sideline every 10 to 15 yards. Like, I don't know why that isn't part of the system. Like, it just seems like that's such an obvious and easy answer to situations like this one where it's offside. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know why there aren't so many more cameras. Like, I don't know why VAR doesn't bring any new cameras to the game. Like, why doesn't VAR include more and additional cameras? I mean, even beyond just the potential sideline ones. Like, why isn't there a camera hanging, up over top of the 18-yard box looking straight down so you can see an angle like that or something? I don't know why the entire VAR system just relies on the broadcast cameras. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, would they say things like, oh, they don't have any angles that you don't have? Like, why? They should absolutely have angles that we don't have. Right. And yeah, if they install extra cameras and you want to throw those shots on some sort of fucking MLS plus, streaming package where people can get these extra angles and replays and shit, which I'm sure they'd pay for. Like, those cameras aren't even going to cost you money in the long run because you can get it back with the quality, the improvement in quality in the game.
Yeah, or like not even. I don't fucking care. I don't need to see those other angles. I would rather just them exist for the sake of accuracy. I mean, if we're going to go all the way to, relying on VAR, then let's go all the way here. Like, and let's make it an infallible system, right? Like, if we're going to take the time to stop the game, break up the flow, kind of move away from this traditional type of refereeing, then let's do it right and let's get it right. And let's make sure that every time we stop for VAR, we're stopping for a infraction that can be like correctly witnessed. It's just, I don't know. It's something that I didn't really ever think about until this moment when you mentioned that they didn't have any other angles. But now that I've thought about it, I don't understand why it's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is MLS, right? I mean,
Well, but I mean,
cheap
like
and
it's the
dumb.
same. It's the same with VAR worldwide. You know, like I don't think any other VAR systems use extra camera angles. I don't know. It's just weird.
All right. Well, since we've been talking about the Dallas
hang
game,
on. You can stop.
Okay. Brent, I'll allow you to speak now. Go ahead, Brent. You're
The
permitted
one
to
thing
speak.
that I'll add to that conversation is to kind of respond to what John said about not needing to see the extra angles as long as they have them. I don't think you'll get away with that for very long. If they're going to add in extra camera angles and then say that they're using those to make calls that affect the outcome of games, they're going to have to be willing to share those. You can't just pretend that you're looking at something else.
I don't think that's true. We didn't have any sort of insight like that before we had brought VAR along. Why would we need that now?
That's
the dream conspiracy.
I don't have access to the clock, the watch on his wrist when he's keeping official time. Why would I? We gonna bring that up? We got a display that connects directly to his watch via Bluetooth. Like,
no, but there's a difference between that because you can use a clock and know that you're within a few seconds of what he has. Like, there's a pretty big difference between those two things. Between saying we have this other camera angle that definitively shows that we can overturn this call, and our clocks weren't matched up by a few seconds.
I disagree, but I understand your point.
Right.
I certainly wouldn't be mad if they wanted to show it to me, but I don't personally think I would have any problems with them having access to additional camera angles. I think that's just.
I think if they change a call based on an angle we don't see and we cannot see, I think fans would be upset by that. So if you think about a context like
they're changing calls now, you can see, and you're still already upset. So, like, what does it fucking matter?
Well, because everybody's convinced that MLS is a giant conspiracy. So if they have hidden angles,
no, it's because sports fans are unrealistic, living in a fantasy world where their team can do no wrong.
There's also that. All right. Anything else in particular about the Dallas game? I mean, on the positive side, the Crew came back twice from being a goal down, and I think in the context of not a 3-game winless streak, we're probably pretty satisfied with that game. Just because it's one of those, oh, look, they showed grit, and oh, look, Pedro actually showed up for this game. But bookended by a couple of losses, it feels pretty disheartening to me, if I'm entirely honest.
Yeah, I would say that this is probably a disappointing result. I mean, it should be a disappointing result. If we're to believe, the bill of goods have been sold, that this is a Supporter Shield challenging, MLS Championship challenging team, then we should have been able to beat this Dallas team, and we shouldn't have had to tie them, and only just barely.
Yeah. So since we
will
talked,
say though,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, will you stop doing that? Jeez, Mike Pence, goddamn.
Well, normally you just sit there silently
say,
for like 15 seconds.
Oh my God,
so I don't know if
I'm talking. You can shut up for 15 seconds.
He's going to come punch you with his robot arm, Darby. Careful.
Oh my God. Brent, there's a fly on your head right now.
But the fact that the team obviously felt like the officiating wasn't very good, as marked by Porter's comments and, just some of the other things that were said after the game. Like, and in, last year, 2 years ago, when the team feels that there's bad officiating, that the ref is against them and that they're playing against a 12th man, essentially, the fact that they were able to respond to keep coming back and to keep getting those goals, I think it shows a little bit of improvement in the mental toughness of this team compared to years past. But it does still feel pretty disappointing overall when put with the other games, like you guys said.
I would like to point out in this game, the 2 goals given up were entirely Harrison Awful's fault. He misplayed the cross badly on the first goal that they had. He was nowhere near the guy he needed to be marking, and I think somehow even thought he could get a hold of a ball that went well over his head. And then, of course, he was the cause of the penalty kick that Room got the yellow on, because he decided to do this screaming kamikaze diagonal running jump at an offensive player, basically just ran over him trying to get the ball. So, Harrison Awful, how dare you?
Oh, yeah, that was another one. I saw people complaining about that call as well.
Oh, how?
Saying that there should have been like a foul on the Dallas player for the way he leaned back into Harry. Like that was another piece of the officiating that people were complaining about. That is, I mean, they made the right call. Like,
yeah, that's ridiculous.
I was just standing there waiting for the ball to come down to him. What else is he going to do, people? Like, and then Harry comes flying in. Like the rule as written is that when you're going for a header, you're supposed to go straight up and straight down. And Harry came like flying in diagonally. So
yeah, he was at a 45-degree angle on a full sprint. There was no way he was not getting whistled for that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you want to talk about officiating in the second game? Specifically, I think the officiating was fine with Montreal, but the call on Hector in the box that led to the penalty kick there. John, what are your thoughts on that one? Have you gone back and reviewed that play?
I did see that. I think that was one of the few things that I did manage to catch live, because that was that maybe I saw it during a highlight,
70-some minute, so it was later.
Okay, so yeah, I only caught the the last 25 minutes or so. So I do think I did witness that, and I do remember thinking it was pretty soft. I'm not sure. I'd have to watch it again to really comment on it, so I don't want to say too much. But I do remember thinking that it was a bit of a soft penalty.
All right, Brent, do you want to? What were your thoughts on what happened there?
Yeah, I thought it was soft. I don't know. I think if that's outside the box, I don't even think you get called for a foul there. There's not even a free kick. So I'm not sure why, because it's in the box, that it goes to a penalty. I definitely don't understand how you played on for 3 minutes before coming back to VAR.
Oh, yes, that was my confusion. Okay, I remember now that you say that, because I arrived at Shrek's house. I was driving home from somewhere, and I was like, "Oh, there's a little bit of game left. I'll stop by Shrek's real quick and watch it on the projector with those guys, and then I'll just head home once it's over." And when I arrived, that foul had already happened, and then I watched 2 full minutes of soccer, and then they made the call to take it all the way back and give him a penalty, and I was like, "What?" I had no idea what was going on, because I had watched so much soccer. And they were referencing something that had happened before I had even arrived.
Yeah, I remember making that comment. They're like, how far back are they actually allowed to go to review something? Is there a limit on that?
So when we were discussing it, and after the call was made, the explanation that we settled on was what Shrek said, which was that he believes the rule in MLS, which apparently is different than other leagues, in MLS is the call cannot be made to go back until the ball goes out of bounds, and there is apparently no time limit.
Yeah, so
there's no time limit. So if something happens in the 60th minute, you could go back potentially in the 85th minute and review that thing in the 60th minute?
I mean, I can't imagine that they actually would.
That's just stupid.
I can't imagine that they actually would.
Go, baby, go, baby, go.
But what the fuck was that?
Yeah, boy. The Yankees are up 1-0, in case anybody was curious.
Literally nobody cares. I think what Shrek told me was that it's 60 seconds or maybe even 30 seconds in the EPL or something, where if the ball doesn't go out and 30 seconds transpire from the potential foul, then you can't go back to it. But he I don't know. He seemed to think that there was no exact time cutoff in MLS like there is over there. So I don't know.
So
yeah,
I just
see, a rule like that would make sense.
Again, something that maybe like Todd can tweet at us about like he did before when I asked him to. I'm sure he knows.
Yeah, so I just went back and pulled up the highlights. The alleged foul occurred almost exactly at the start of the 71st minute. And it looks like the referee comes back with a decision from VAR at the start of the 73rd minute. So it wasn't super long. I can't see when he actually went and reviewed, but it seems like it would have had to have been at least a full minute afterwards.
That's a full 2 minutes.
2 minutes of soccer.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff happening.
Because you
between
gotta think,
then and
if you're saying he's coming back from reviewing it at the start of the 73rd, he can't have been over there more than what, like maybe 10, 15 seconds at most?
Yeah,
Looking
I mean,
at a
there's
couple different angles, right? Like he's not spending forever over there.
Yeah.
So that means there was at least a full minute of soccer played probably.
and then what happens if
Potentially
like
more.
say all of the time between that potential foul and when the review was called, if I remember correctly, it was spent in the Crew's attacking part of the field.
Yeah, we did.
So what happens if the Crew scores a goal?
We almost scored, yeah, which we discussed, and Shrek said he believes that the rule then is that a goal would be the only instance where play would stop, where you couldn't then go back because that's too much of a thing to overrule. You would then be taking a goal away and giving the other team a penalty. So
That's absurd. But
yeah.
I started this conversation to say that if that call had been made at the time of the potential foul, the alleged foul, I could understand the center ref making that call from his angle in real time. I do not understand how you go back and watch that on video and come away with the decision to award a penalty. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and once again, this bears mentioning, if you look at the replay, the AR is right where he needs to be. The center ref is right where he needs to be and has a completely clear view of what's happening, and he's watching what's happening. I don't understand how nobody on the field tries to make the call, let's play continue.
Yeah.
Like, it just... Yeah, those are key pivotal plays.
Well, it sounds like to me then, it seems like to me they saw what happened. They deemed it not a penalty, not a foul. They played on. Then the fifth ref called it down, and potentially maybe that made the guy, question himself. I was actually, before you said that, going to say, I don't know who this ref is. I'm trying to look it up real quick. I don't recognize him just off his face, but he looks like he's really young, so I don't know if he's maybe a new ref or what. Maybe he just, was taking the fact that the fifth ref called it down. Let's see.
It's Victor Rivas.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I don't know. Maybe if he's still kind of a newer ref and the fifth ref is more senior and said, hey, I think this is something you need to take a look at, maybe he went with it. Victor Rivas Fotis Bazaka is the VAR ref. I've never heard of any of this. I've never heard of anyone on this officiating staff.
You would see Bazakas. If you saw his face, you would recognize him. He's been around for a while. Rivas, this is his... let's see. Oh, boy. Prior to 2020, he had been head referee exactly 3 times over the course of the previous 2 seasons.
Okay, see, so that's kind of goes to what I'm saying, where he's obviously a pretty new ref. If this Bazakas guy is more senior and is the one calling down saying, hey, I think you need to take a look back at this thing, and he didn't call it in the moment, then maybe it's a situation where he feels like, oh, I'm being told that I was wrong, and so I need to just go look at this and then call the penalty. Not that, which is not the way it should fucking go, but who knows?
Yeah, and this is one time where the officiating did make a difference, because that second goal was the difference maker in this game. A game that it seemed like, on paper, the Crew was dominating the box score, as they so often do. And it even, like, they had good chances even in the last part of the game, but once Montreal was severely bunkered down with their lead, it's tough to crack a team like that.
See, I'm glad you said that, though, about the officiating making a difference in this game, because I've seen a lot of conversation about, how the officials won that game for them. And I understand, it's a penalty. It directly led to a goal. I get the point that you're making. But let's not make a mistake here. This was a terrible game if you're the Crew, especially that first half where you weren't creative. It was a dull, hard-to-watch game. And even in the second half, you were missing chances constantly. Yeah. There were six high percentage chances, and you made one of them.
Yeah, 19 shots I think in that game for the Crew.
Yeah, 19 shots, only 5 on target.
Yeah,
that's terrible.
To sit there and say that the officiating lost us that game, I'm not good with that explanation for this game, even though I disagree with that penalty call. You had plenty of chances to win that game before and after that call. That one's not on the officials.
Crew with 81% passing accuracy and having made over 120 more passes than Montreal. They were sitting at 58.5 possession percentage. They won 64 duels to Montreal's 39, made 15 successful tackles. Montreal had to make 29 clearances. I mean, this is a pretty, as lopsided as they come statistically, this game looks. And I'm not going to speak too much to it since I didn't watch, but those stats tell a story that the scoreline doesn't match up with. And I think that the Crew are having some problems. They're finally starting to show some problems. And, it's been a few games in a row now that they have not looked very good. And, this defense that we've been touted as being historical is really what's coming down to being a big part of the issue. I mean, giving up a goal to Montreal is not acceptable. Scoring, for the most part, has been there, I think. Not in this Montreal game, obviously. One goal is not good enough. But for the most part, I feel like the downfall of this team has really been the defending. And you mentioned it earlier, Darby, and I want to hear what you guys think. But I think Harrison Offal is pretty far and away the worst part of this defense and potentially maybe not even deserving of a starting spot anymore.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to point to the weird situation in this game, he did wind up getting a yellow for a handball in the box that didn't actually even stop a goal from happening. I think Mensah had a rough game against Montreal as well. But yeah, Offal for me has fallen off a cliff this season. He's getting caught out of position a lot. It seems like he's misplaying a lot of defensive balls. He seems very hesitant getting upfield, and he's a lot more likely to pull up short and make square passes. I frankly, I was concerned a couple of years ago we'd see a decline in play from him, and we hadn't until this year. But this year is bad. And I think he just signed a contract extension last season. So, oops, I think would be the word for that.
Yeah. I'm watching their first goal, the one that I hadn't seen yet, and this is 100% a Jonathan Mensah goal. I mean, he gets spun by the pass through, and then he doesn't keep tracking the play.
Yeah, he gave up on that play. If he'd have kept running back, he might have.
If he had kept tracking that second runner, then he wouldn't have been able to retrieve the ball. Yep. I mean, this is all at his feet, in my opinion.
Okay, so how much of that, though, can you put, can you say comes down to fatigue? That's what I'm kind of curious about at this point in the season with the way the schedule has been. Because
Mensah being the only guy who hasn't missed a minute.
Yeah, he's one of 2 players left in the league that has played every single minute so far this season.
I would give more credence to that if this wasn't the 25th minute. I mean, even if you're playing games every 3 days, you've got to be pretty. These are professional athletes, and he's a high level one. He's not some fucking Hector Jimenez, spit roll off the bench guy. This is the highest, one of the top CBs in the entire league. If he is really gassed at the 25th minute, then we've got some real problems.
Yeah, and Mensah also misplayed that pass to Artur earlier, which was like maybe 10 minutes into the game that Montreal should have scored on, but they put it off the side bar.
I'm watching that right now. That's literally only it's only 3 minutes in.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and I realize, you start off with more of an awful approach, but maybe we should just talk about the defense in general at this point, because this is the team that, people were talking about the amazing number of shutouts, the record-setting pace for the fewest goals allowed, and the next thing you know, they've given up 7 goals in the past 3 games. And before that, they'd given up 5 in 13 games. It's generally the same kind of lineup. There's been a little bit of rotation with injury here and there, but you've got Valenzuela, Williams, Mensah, and Awful in that back line. Some rotation at defensive midfielder, but it's the same guys. What the hell is happening here?
I mean, I guess maybe Brent is... I can't really see any explanation other than what Brent is pointing out, in that maybe they are just getting overworked.
I can see that. We're not seeing...
Yeah, I think...
Sorry, go ahead, Brent.
Yeah, I think part of it is maybe a little bit of fatigue with the really weird way that the schedule is being thrown down, and but then I also... shit! I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, the Yankees have the bases loaded.
God.
The thing I was gonna say was,
who
who started in CB with Mensah in the Toronto game? Was it Will?
Toronto was...
I've got the wrong...
I don't remember. That's been a time ago now.
Fucking. I only ask because that's the if so, then that would be 4 games in a row for that CB pairing. I mean, I don't remember the last time we saw Kaida. So
yeah, it was Williams and Mensah starting against Toronto.
So that is 4 straight games of Williams and Mensah. They played in this Montreal game. They played in Dallas. They played in TFC, and they played in Minnesota. I haven't looked farther back than that. But that is 4 games in 10 days?
Sure. At the position that does require the least running. Not to say they still can't get tired.
I mean, I don't.
Is that true on this team?
I wouldn't say that that's even necessarily true on this team.
What position?
I mean, you saw it in the
center backs
Montreal game.
more than?
Jonathan was all over the freaking field.
Maybe it is the least amount of running, but it is by no means a little amount of running.
Oh yeah, no, that's certainly not what I'm suggesting. But historically, it's not like center backs are running up and down the field all the time. They don't often get subbed out for exactly that reason. When you have limited subs, the guys who run the least don't tend to get much of a break. But then that speaks to your rotation, and you do have you've got Keita there, you've got Grant Lillard guy.
We saw Keita was in that Nashville game.
Okay, so that's 6 games ago.
Which was we're about 3 weeks away from that. It was on the 19th.
And it was Williams and Mensah before that as well against Chicago.
Yeah, so that latest game was the Minnesota one. That was on the 23rd. So that puts them at having played 5 games in 2 weeks, right? 23rd to the 7th. That's 2 weeks exactly. So that's a lot of games for those guys. Josh is a bit older of a guy. He's also not the fastest, and to begin with. So when he gets tired, he slows down even quicker. And I don't know.
But this is also the same thing that every other team is dealing with. It's not like this is unique to the Crew. All teams are having to deal with player
That's true.
rotation and stuff.
That's
And
true.
we're not
I
rotating
don't
our
know
center
what the-
backs.
I don't know what the yeah. I was going to say that while that's true, the tough thing about analyzing that is we don't know what the rotation is like for all the other rosters. I'm not keyed into MLS that closely.
Yeah, we're playing a 32-year-old center back and a 30-year-old center back, while the 20-year-old and the 24-year-old are on the bench, nowhere to be seen.
So there's also the other potential factor, and John brought it up several weeks in a row, that, at this stretch of the season, we're seeing better competition than we've really seen earlier in the year. So, you're just exposing problems that were already there. I know that doesn't really apply to Montreal because they're not great and they have a lot of players out. But aside from that game, Dallas and Toronto
awful,
and
right?
No, they're not
great,
horrible
but
either.
They're better than a lot of the competition we have played. I mean, they're better than Nashville. They're better than Chicago. They're better than Cincinnati.
Yeah.
They're
so. That's just, maybe this is closer to what the team actually is than what we saw in the beginning of the season. Maybe it's not as much of a fatigue factor. It's certainly possible that it's like all of the above combining to give us these crappy results, but
yeah, but another thing could also be sort of the next topic is injuries. Nagbe was a huge part of the defense and keeping pressure off of the back line of the team. A guy who maintains possession, a guy who can dig a ball out and get it into transition. Zelarayan's been in and out with his injury. Valenzuela had to come out in that Montreal game with an injury. Maybe just without some of that offensive firepower and possession that Zelarayan and Nagbe were bringing, it's putting pressure on a defense that historically got to kind of sit back and rest a little bit and not face the kind of pressure that they've been facing now.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think that Nagbe is without a doubt the most important player on this roster. I think that what he contributes to the team is just unreplaceable. Lucas, a lot of what Lucas does is unreplaceable as well, but I think to a lesser degree, simply because of the
all-star play of Pedro Santos.
Yeah, yes, to the skill that we have seen, from Pedro and even from Mokhtar, and then also obviously from Giassi. There's a lot of talent in that front four attacking. You've got Diaz. There's a lot of talent and skill up front there. So the drop off when Lucas is out isn't as severe as the drop off when Nagbe's out. You're going from playing Lucas, the most expensive player in club history, to playing Pedro there, the second most expensive player in club history, as opposed to when Nagbe's out, we're playing a first year rookie homegrown kid who's 19 years old or whatever. Like it's a big difference. And it's a shame that we're not getting to see this full strength roster play some of these teams, because I think we might be seeing some different results, but we'll never know.
Oh my God, what a great segue, John, because I wanted to ask you, now that we've seen a decent amount of minutes in the last couple of games from Aiden Morris, what your thoughts are on your boy that you've been asking to see all year.
Well, I didn't watch a majority of the Montreal game, so I can't comment on that. I didn't think he was any better or worse than the Dallas game than I thought that Berhalter had necessarily been. Nothing stood out, which, like I always say, is kind of what I want from my defensive midfielder. I don't want to really notice you. I want you to just silently do your job and break up plays. And I'm not expecting anything big and flashy and memorable from you. I'm just expecting like a good work, hardworking shift. So I'm not necessarily disappointed, but I'm not necessarily impressed. I don't know. I'd like to see a little bit more before we maybe jump back to Berhalter. I'm guessing that Porter probably agrees. Otherwise, I don't see why he would start him 2 games in a row. If he was disappointed with his performance in Dallas, then I would imagine he would have swapped back to Berhalter right away. But I don't know. We'll see. What are your guys' thoughts on him? You watched the whole Impact game, so you have more to go on than I do.
I do think he made some pretty clutch tackles at times. There were certainly no glaring errors that jumped out at me in his play. I think you're right. I think it seems intuitively like he brings a lot of the same kind of play that Berhalter does. They're not going to be the guys dribbling the ball up the field for you. But, they can dig a ball out and help support the defense. I think Berhalter is a little more willing to shoot than Aiden Morris is, but that's not a position I care that much about. I like to see an occasional run into box from them, but Artur has actually been picking that up a little bit lately. So, the other guys, I'm fine with them hanging back. What did you think, Brent?
Yeah, I thought, that he had several tackles in that game where, everybody that was kind of in your backyard watching were just like, okay, more of that, please. Like, they were just really good, clean, perfectly timed tackles that were kind of big defensive moments.
I just am looking at his stats for the Impact game, and I see what you're talking about here. I mean, he's made looks like 3 or 4 tackles, and they were all successful, and 2 of them were inside of our own box.
Yeah, and I remember one very specifically that just looked like, something you do when you're goofing around on FIFA and you're playing against whatever the lowest level computer is, where they just like stand there with the ball and you just poke it away from them.
That's called the Morgan Hughes level of video games.
Yeah, that's how clean his tackle was, and it was nice to see. But I also remember at one point, I don't remember what time it was in the game, but I remember Jordan making the comment that he had successfully completed like the first 26 of 26 passes that he attempted, like 100%.
I'm looking at that right now. He didn't have a single incomplete pass in the entire first half. It wasn't until the 49th minute that he had a pass that was unsuccessful, and then he only went on to have one other unsuccessful pass the entire game. And he also had one key pass late in the game.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was, like you said, nothing super memorable as far as his passes go. Like, I don't remember, you said he had a key pass. I don't remember seeing something that he set up, like an offensive play that he set up. But, if you can be that successful in helping your team keep the ball, like that's certainly valuable.
Yeah, his passing completion percentage thus far is 94.1%, which that seems pretty fucking good, if I'm going to be entirely honest.
I mean, those are Nagby levels of percentage. Now, the quantity of passes obviously matters. If he completed 4 or 5 as opposed to Nagby's, 28 of 30, then there's obviously something there. But I mean, he's like I said, he made quite a lot of passes in this game, and he only had 2 that were unsuccessful.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm not very good at the who scored thing because, John, I'm an old, so all these tabs and all these buttons are very scary and intimidating to me.
Right, technology's hard for you, I know.
Yeah. But it looks like he's averaging 22.7 passes per game. So, I mean, over the course of a couple of games, that's a not small number of passes. So it seems good for, like you said, like a 18-year-old kid who's getting his first real minutes in a pro league. He seemed pretty poised, and it doesn't seem like he's getting rattled by the game.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I didn't watch most of the Impact game, but based on the stats that I'm looking at from that game and what I felt like I saw in his 45 minutes in Dallas, I see no reason to switch back to Berhalter yet. I mean, he's certainly not doing any worse than Berhalter. Is he doing better? I don't I don't necessarily know, but he's not doing worse. So
Yeah, I would like to see them settle one way or the other, if only for match fitness purposes, because my concern right now is, you had Alashe, and then you've had Berhalter playing some, you've had Morris playing some. None of those guys, and including Nagbe when he comes back, nobody's going to be 90 minutes fit at a position that ideally you would not have to use a sub on. The season's kind of nice in that you get those 2 bonus subs, but you hate to see a sub on a defensive midfielder that's not injury related. I mean, don't get me wrong, you don't like to see injury subs either. But so far, none of these guys is going to probably be able to go 90 minutes full tilt, which means that does affect how you're managing your players during the course of the game.
yeah, I don't know the answer to this. Maybe you guys do. I don't know if this has been announced, but do we know what the status is of Alashe and when he'll be back? Because I would assume that when he is ready to go again, he'll immediately plug back in alongside Artur, assuming that Nagbe is not also ready to go.
I haven't seen anything. Have you seen anything, Brent? I tend to ignore Caleb Porter whenever he talks, so.
No, I haven't seen anything about Alashe. Every injury update that I see is either about Zellaran or Darlington Nagbe.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to overshadow those guys.
Well, and every time it's like Nagbe, oh, he's about a week away. Oh, he's about a week away.
Well, we were told a while back that we probably wouldn't see him until at least the Cincinnati game, so I don't suspect we will see him this weekend against Orlando, because I would think that if he's doing better than expected, we would know that, but maybe not with the games that Porter likes to play. Who knows?
Yeah.
I will throw out one more stat line before we move on that I wasn't unaware of. But Montreal went into that game against us with a 1-5-1 record in their previous 7 games, and they'd allowed 20 goals.
They were getting blown out in games on the regular.
Yeah,
and to lose to them at home, yikes.
That's just shy of 3 goals a game, and we lost to that.
And couldn't manage to get more than 1 goal ourselves.
Yeah.
So there is, I'll just throw this out there to hear your thoughts. I remember saying a couple different times throughout that game that, Montreal was actually playing deeper than even Cincinnati was when Caleb Porter complained about, the bunkering. There were, I don't know how many times I remember looking up and Montreal had like all 11 players like almost in their box trying to play defense. So, I mean, does that affect your opinion of this game at all or not so much?
Montreal's...
Sorry, go ahead, Darby.
Nope. Okay. Montreal is a team, because they've been ineffective, that normally plays 5 in the back. They'll give you a 3-5-2 on paper, but realistically, they almost always have 5 defenders when they're playing. And the longer the game goes on, and if they get chances to score, that's just going to get worse. You're going to have to solve that kind of shit. And we've seen it with Cincinnati. If you can get a goal in on them, they have to open up if they want to try and pull one back. But they got a goal on the early side of this game. They had no fucking motivation to play out. They were time wasting. Their goalkeeper was time wasting in the first half. And the thing is, like, you can be mad about it, but you also know that's what they're gonna do. They scored in the 24th minute. They're on the road against one of the top teams in the East. Hell yeah, they're going to bunker down, so you got to figure out how to deal with that. You got to put more than 2 guys in the box.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say to that. We took 19 shots, and only 5 of them were on target. And I'm looking at the shot map, and only one of those was not within basically 20 yards of goal. that needs to be a better percentage. That percentage is amateur. It's like pathetic. So it's not that we weren't unable to get into their area and get shots. It's just that we couldn't fucking shoot. So, if we hadn't been able to take so many shots and they were really just parking the bus and really keeping us out of there, I'd say, okay, the issue was that we just couldn't figure out a way to break them down. But you don't take that many shots just on chance. I mean, we obviously knew how to get in there. We just couldn't put anything on goddamn frame.
Yeah, I would recommend not looking at the shots off target map for this game because there's some disgraceful shit in there. If you look, like, all of the missed shots that didn't even get on frame, let alone the shots from, I think it's Pedro and Harrison Awful, that nearly went out of bounds on the sideline rather than...
There's two shots here that almost went out for throw-ins.
Yes. Like, what the fuck? You are a professional athlete. You should never miss by that much if it's not deflected. Like, if you have 19 shots and so many of these aren't even on frame, it doesn't matter how many shots you take. I understand wanting to go near the post to try and make the goalkeeper work for it, but also just hit the ball where it has a chance to score and make him work for it. Maybe you get a rebound. If you put 19 shots on frame, I guarantee you a bunch of them are going in. Quit trying to be clever. Just fucking shoot.
It's a 25% conversion rate on shots to them being on target. Not even to getting them in the goal. Just to getting them on target. That's abysmal.
So, all right. Well, we've done a lot of talking about things that are bad and terrible, and we all hate sports, and we're going to go take up being fans of ice dancing from here on out. So we don't do cracking the code anymore, but I did want to note that this quote comes entirely without context from Caleb Porter, but the sentence itself says something, especially when you drag it kicking and screaming out of the larger context. He said, and I quote, "The best teams don't lose this game." Now, the context, this is kind of motivational stuff, and he's saying, like, if you're a good team, you don't blow an opportunity like this. But that sentence, standing on its own, does raise a question. Is Columbus one of the best teams in MLS? I mean, they were on top of the East for a long time, in charge of the Supporters' Shield race for a long time. What do you guys think? Is Columbus a top 3 team in the league? Is it a top 5 team in the league right now?
Full roster healthy? Yes. Right now?
No team in the league has a full roster healthy.
Right now? No.
Yeah. We're all in the same shitty boat with this. Given the context of this, what the team is right now, including injuries, and given what the league is right now, including everybody else's injuries, is this a top 3, top 5, top 10 team?
Well, top 10, that's a pretty big difference. I would say
Sure.
Top 10, yes.
Okay.
But top 5, top 3, definitely not top 3. Top 5, I would still struggle to say yes. So I'll go top 10, but I won't say top 5.
Okay. What do you think, John?
I think I agree. I think they're definitely a top 10. I think they're maybe towards the bottom of the top 10, maybe 9th or 10th. I think they're 100% a playoff team. But I do not think they're a top 3 or even a top 5 team right now.
No, it's easy to
John.
be a playoff team when over 50% of the teams make it into the playoffs.
Well, right.
Cincinnati is a playoff team this year.
I understand that. I just think that what we're seeing right now, unless things change, I think we're on pace for still probably an upper half of the seeding in the Eastern Conference. I think we may come in 4th or whatever, and potentially then still get to host a single game against one of the lower seeds, but I wouldn't expect it right now. I wouldn't expect us to make it more than past the first one or two rounds. I mean, and that's assuming things hold steady, and not that we just continue to decline, because that's what we're in the midst of right now, is a decline. I don't think they're better. They're definitely not better than Toronto. I don't see how you could consider them better than Philadelphia or Seattle or Orlando, and I don't even think that they're maybe better than Portland. Those are the other top six. Those are the other teams in the top six. So
yeah, I'm not sure if the Crew play NYCFC 3 games on neutral site. If the Crew pulled 2 out of 3 results from that matchup. Yeah,
clearly the site doesn't matter because we just lost to Montreal at home.
Right. This is a top 10 team for sure. In a league of 26, the Crew are definitely top 10. I don't think I can put them higher than 7 or 8 right now overall. The recent results are what they are. We've got a team that's got 2 losses and 1 tie in the last 3 games. Yeah. And your current run of form is who you are.
Of the other teams that I just listed in the top 6, we're the only team that has, in the last 3 games, we're the only team that hasn't won a game, and only one other team has lost a game. So those other 5 teams have won their last 3 games, with the exception of Philly, who lost 1, but they won the other 2. So everybody else is on 3-game winning streaks, basically, and we're on we've had 1 point in the last 3 games.
It's rough. I mean, there's still room to turn things around. Orlando, of course, is with the next game coming up is going to be a huge match for the team at this point, because that's a team who's basically right there below us in the standings, 1 point back. So, if you don't get a result there, then you have now fallen to at least, I guess you couldn't fall any further than 4th on a loss, but still, it's going the wrong direction. That's for damn sure. Does anybody have any brilliant ideas how to fix this shit?
I mean, I'm shy of us getting back our 2 most important players. I'm not really sure what else can be done about this. We have been, playing a wide variety of players. We've been starting different people. We've been subbing different people. We've been, we even tried a different lineup or different formation the other day. Not for very long, but we did try it. I don't know.
Oh, the 4-4-2 at the end of the game against Montreal.
Yeah, we did that,
when
and then
Adi came in.
We also did that game. We had that game the other day where it was a 4-1-4-1.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
So we've tried I feel like we have tried quite a bit of stuff. I mean, outside of maybe giving Mensah a rest, I don't know, and perhaps moving Harry to the bench and trying something new there. I don't know what else you can do outside of just hoping that you can hang on long enough for Lucas and Nagbe to return, truly with some true like health to them. Lucas keeps coming and going and coming and going. We need him to come and stay, not come for a game and a half and then get nicked again and have to go back out.
Yeah. So I was like a true arts aficionado that I am, John. You know me. I'm an arts boy. Not an artist, but a purveyor, a patron of the arts. I spend a lot of money on OnlyFans, supporting a lot of artists there.
Okay.
But so I was listening today to the Hamilton soundtrack, like I think half of America does, just on repeat. And it got to the song where George Washington gets introduced. And there's that.
I've never heard any of it, so you're not going to know what you're talking about.
God damn it, Brent! Have you listened to Hamilton, Brent?
No,
oh
none
my
of it.
God. Well, maybe Ivan will like this and the Stankies. But so there's a line where he says, "We're outgunned, outmanned, outnumbered, and outplanned. We got to make an all-out stand. Hey, yo, we're going to need a right-hand man." And, like, it sounds a little corny, but I saw all of those, and I was like, oh, yeah. We don't really have a consistent scoring threat outside of Jossie. We've got injuries. We've got a defense letting in goals. Teams are beating us in the second half because they're coming out with tactics. I keep checking off these things, and it got to the end where he says, we're going to need a right-hand man. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm trying to force this in. I love Diaz, and I think he brings a lot of really good stuff to the game, but he's not getting on the score sheet. And I'm wondering if it's time to give somebody else a run on the right side for a while, especially since Awful is shitting the bed over there and not really contributing much. Maybe Etienne needs to come in for a while, or even Boateng. I really want Diaz to succeed. He's one of my favorite players on the roster right now. He's just doing things that aren't quite getting the result, and maybe a little time to try somebody else, get his head on right, would be helpful, because we need, Pedro is sometimes a threat. Lucas is a threat when he's healthy. Mokhtar scores a couple of times, but we've got, it's just a goal desert out there on the right. And we need another threat so that they can't shut Jossie down all the time.
Yeah, I think the Diaz is definitely threatening. It is hard because he hasn't scored, but he's just so fast, and he's super talented. He's got really good footwork. I think sometimes he just kind of almost outplays himself. I don't know what the answer is. I hate to take a guy like that off the field because I don't know if there's a equivalent substitution there, especially given that Lucas is out, and so Mokhtar and Santos are both already starting. I just don't know if I feel confident that anybody else on the roster is able to bring an equivalent level of intensity and skill that Diaz is bringing.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree with that. And I don't want him out for any length of time. I'm just wondering if maybe a couple of days, I don't know what, I'm not a coach. I don't know what motivates players. And I don't like the idea of sit on the bench and think about it necessarily. But maybe it would be good for him to just take a break and refocus, because I think he's got all the pieces there. He just can't quite put them all together. And as I was doing some looking for the Orlando game, I realized they have 6 legitimate scoring / assisting threats on their roster, and right now we've got 3.5 at best. And if you're gonna go anywhere in the playoffs, there's got to be something else. And I don't know, man. Got to do something.
Yeah. Well, we could dive more into that when we're previewing that game, but do you want to chat about what might be the answer to that we've just signed?
Yeah, we can do that. From your, not directly from your actual favorite team in MLS, but a previous player for one of your favorite MLS teams. Earlier this week, the Crew signed Christian Nemeth, who was most recently, I believe he was playing, Brent, correct me if I'm wrong, he was playing for the New York Yankees most recently?
You're incorrect.
Okay. He was playing for, see, I'm going to have it. Oh, yeah, I can say this name. It's No, sorry. First, let's go. It's FCDAC 1904 Donajska Streda, which is a Slovakian team. And I'm sure Mark Vucinic will tell me that I pronounced that wrong, but I don't care. So, he is nominally a forward, but a guy who also can play on the wing. Not the youngest lad in the game these days. He is 31 years old, but he scored 9 goals for Sporting Kansas City the second time around. He scored a goal for New England. He scored 11 for Sporting Kansas City back in 2015. He's been all around the world, man. But another scoring threat potentially. What do you think of the signing?
I don't know. I'm interested to see how he does. I had remembered him as being like this just highly successful goal scorer when he was here in MLS, and I have gone back and looked at his record, and it doesn't really live up to what I had held in my memory, so I don't know what I was thinking of, but I mean, it wasn't too bad when he was here for the first time. He was, in 2015, he was in Sporting Kansas City's roster, and he scored 11 goals in 28 appearances, which is pretty good. But then his most recent stint with them, which was from 2018 to 2019, he only scored 9 goals in 33 appearances. So bit of a fall off. The year prior to that, he was with the Revolution. He only scored 1 goal in 21 appearances. And then this team that he's coming from is the best team in that Slovakian top flight league. And he's only made 1 appearance for them, and he didn't score in that 1 appearance. And I was curious. I thought maybe they haven't played a lot of games, but they've played. It looks like 9 different games already this season. Started back in the beginning of August, so they run on that European schedule of August to like March or April or whatever it is, May. So they've played. They're coming up on almost having played already half of their season, and he's only made 1 appearance. And like I said, they're the top team in that league. By quite a bit. They've scored a lot of goals, so he's obviously not needed there. And he is 31 years old, so he's starting to get up there. So I'm curious to see how productive he can be, given the past few years of his playing career. They're just not really that impressive. And I'm assuming that this is something that's going to challenge someone that's intended to come in and challenge Adi as that first striker off the bench, because he's been potentially one of the most uninspiring substitutes I've ever witnessed in my 33 years of watching soccer. So,
yeah. So Namath, his most notable thing in MLS is he did win Goal of the Year in 2015. I don't know if you remember it. It was a game against Portland where basically he dribbled the ball by himself from half field through the entire Portland Timbers defense, just like juking everybody right out of their jocks, and scored. So yeah, like a guy who can certainly get it done. I did tweet my hot take.
He also helped Sporting win the Open Cup that year, Darby. How dare you disrespect the Open Cup by saying that Goal of the Year is more prominent than that?
Well, I mean, you know, I that was the thing I remembered seeing on the interwebs, and nobody's talking about the Open Cup, John. It's basically dead now.
He did say in MLS, the Open Cup isn't in MLS.
Brent, I'd like to go ahead and not award you a man ball, but give you credit for acknowledging my brilliance.
Whose fucking team are you on, Brent? Come on.
Yeah, like part of me saw this and was like, wait, are you trying to go 4-4-2? Because we're now 4 deep at forward on a team that historically only plays 1 forward. Because you now have Zardes, Adi, Jordan Hamilton, who hasn't even sniffed the field anytime recently, and now Namath. In a short season like this, Like it seems like that's supposed to be an instant impact kind of person. But I also have a hard time believing that Caleb Porter still doesn't have his endless man crush on Fernando Adi. While all of us can see what a pile of crap he is, I'm not sure that Caleb Porter does, because he ran him out there last night even. After coming off of whatever weird-ass injury he had walking around a couple of games ago. So I'd love to believe that this is Adi's replacement, but I'm not sure that it is.
Well, and the other thing that we have to consider here is that even if it is, this guy's coming from Europe, and he has a quarantine. So we're not even going to see him for, at least another week, I think?
Yeah, he's got to get a visa, too.
Yeah, so, I mean, this guy's impact is going to be pretty minimal. The amount of games that are going to be remaining by the time he's got his visa, completed his quarantine, and is ready to go. I mean, also, like, you got to assume you're going to want to get him trained in a few training sessions with his teammates, at least, before you throw him to the Wolves. I don't know, maybe not. But this guy's not going to probably see the field for a little while still.
Yeah, I don't remember what exact day the signing was, but if you assume, like, say it's another 10 days from now, that's 3 more games that he'll miss, leaving only 4 games left then, basically, in the regular season. It's an odd signing, and, you know, given that he's 31 years old, like, I don't feel like this is a long-term signing looking at the future. But, I don't know. Bez is a smart guy. I'm sure he knows what he's doing.
We're exactly a month away from the final game of the season. It's on November 8th, and it is currently October 8th as we're recording this. And there's only 7 games to go. So if you think this guy's going to miss the next week, you know, then, or next week or 2, then that's half the remaining games that he's not even going to be roster eligible for. So it's really curious. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
By the time he gets on the field, it may honestly be too late. You know, the supporter shield may be gone. Our playoff position may be largely decided as far as, like, you know, where we're going to fall seeding wise. So it's you know, maybe he turns into this great weapon and we have him going into the playoffs and he makes a big difference. Who knows?
Yeah, or maybe they play him more as a winger because they, you know, want a little depth out there with Pedro being pulled into the middle. I don't know. I have no idea. All right. Well, should we give away some? Oh wait, no, we got a question of the week. Brent, we're not doing letter F. Nobody cares about a New York Yankees update. All right. You know what, Brent? Give us a Yankees update.
What? Why did you just did all that? He didn't even respond to you. He didn't even unmute, and you went from nobody cares to all right, let us have it.
Brent, go ahead. Right now.
Now you've server muted him. I can see.
Here's your one chance, Brent. Here's your opportunity to talk about the Yankees. You go right ahead. Say as much as you want. Here now.
Brent, go right ahead and have a chat.
Well, first of all, screw you, Darby.
I disconnected Darby real fast. Hurry, do it before he comes back in.
What a legend.
Hurry, keep talking.
Oh, my God. So great. Yeah, I waited for you, Darby, because I know you want to hear this. The Yankees are currently winning.
Take privileges away.
Welcome back to the show, John.
John, can you kick Darby out again? That was really fun. And we should consider doing more.
Yeah, he's
gone.
Like go right ahead.
Oh, there we go. Damn it, he's back.
Yeah. I removed his privileges. He can no longer kick me out. And in the ultimate...
He thought I couldn't kick him out. That's hilarious.
Oh, it's because you have 2 roles assigned to you. Oh, shit. Okay. Well, I can't remove the other role, or it will cause problems. So.
All right. Anyway, yeah.
Are you going to introduce your question, Darby?
Oh, yeah. If you don't want to talk about the Yankees, I'm fine with that. So
I already did. You weren't in the channel.
Okay. Question of the week this week comes to us from Brent Miller, if I recall correctly. I think you
It does.
suggested this like a month ago, and we basically just ignored it, like we do you on the podcast. But it's finally
in real
time
life.
to acknowledge the question. So go ahead, Brent Miller, and read us the question of the week.
I don't have the show notes in front of me, so I can't do that.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'll do it. This week's question is who, I don't know if this is meant to be just players or the organization as a whole, but who is most likely to win the lottery but lose the ticket?
Ooh, that was a good question. Whoever came up with that is a legend of the
We already gave you your
damn game.
props.
Yeah.
Please shut the fuck up.
All right.
All right,
you want
since
to
it's my
answer
question,
first? You?
we'll throw Drabs to the fire, and he'll go first.
Okay. All right. Well, I think I'm actually going to take this back to an earlier part of our conversation. I'm going to say the person most likely to win the lottery but lose the ticket is Harrison Awful, because he has clearly shown he will lose an attacking player 3 or 4 times a game very easily. So I would assume he would lose a winning lottery ticket just as easily. And that's what I got. Back to you, Brent.
He's great at this.
Oh my God, John, why don't you
This is
answer
your
the
thing,
question?
or your thing, Drabs. I'm
No,
letting
Brent,
you take over.
You owned it, Brent. You, God.
This is what happens when we
This-
give a bucket boy a
I'm not the
little bit of
podcast
power.
host. All right, John, who's your player or staff person?
Oh my God. Yeah, let's see here. I don't actually really have a good answer for this. I felt like I did. Can I do one? Can I pick someone who was recently on the Cruise roster?
I'll
I'll allow it.
Thank you
Drabs,
for both-
nobody
thank you
cares
for
what
both-
you'll allow.
Thank you for both allowing it.
I'll allow Brent to allow it.
I'm gonna go with Will Trapp because it probably seemed to him like he won the lottery and moving to Miami, a team that was going to be spending all this money and supposed to be really sweet, but now they're total ass. So he kind of lost the ticket. So he really kind of lived this question already.
Oh, that's really fucking good.
Nice. Except he does get to play with Higuain. I mean, granted, not the better of the two, but one of them.
Yeah, but that dude in his very first appearance missed a penalty kick and then started a fight. So I don't know if that's a great thing.
But John, he made a free kick goal in his third game
Yes,
when
I
it took
saw
him
that.
like however many hundreds of games to do it over there in Europe.
Don't get me started on that nonsense.
Too late. You're already started. Why don't you go ahead and rant a little bit?
Did you see that, Darby?
No, I did not. I've been paying no attention to all of his nonsense. What happened?
It was a MLS Instagram post. They posted this on Instagram. It's a picture of him, and it says, direct free kick goals in 428 European games with little asterisks, and then it says 0 because he hadn't scored. He doesn't score any because you know why? Because he's not a fucking free kick taker, really. And then the little asterisk is just to let you know that he played for Real Madrid, Napoli, Juventus, AC Milan, and Chelsea, so that you can think that this is an impressive thing because it only took him 3 games in MLS to score his first free kick goal. Oh my God!
He's all grown up now. What a big boy.
Yeah,
He's
this is
finally
what we
scoring
like to
free
call an
kick.
accidental self-own.
He's finally scoring free kick goals for a team that doesn't even have a jersey sponsor, guys. He's made it.
I mean, he is also the same guy who missed a PK in his debut, right? That's the same Higuain we're talking about?
I just said that a minute ago.
Yeah.
Please try to wake up. I know it's late for you, but
I was looking to see if Will Trapp and Higuain had actually played at the same time, because Will is he's been coming off of the bench quite a bit, as it turns out, in Miami.
wow, he lost the ticket even harder than I was aware of.
Yeah, he started the last 2 games, but the 7 games previous to that, he was either subbed on or was an unused sub. That's not great.
Yeah, that's not great at all, Bob.
Yeah, well, the grass isn't always greener. Sounds like Will has a lot of growing up to do.
All right, so that's our win the lottery and lose the ticket thing. I guess no, Brent doesn't get to say anything. I've decided he's not allowed.
Well, nobody cares what you've decided, but I had already decided that I was only going to have you two answer it. So
no, that's not how the question of the week works, Brent. Give us your fucking answer.
Yeah, you can't not answer your own question.
But Drebs, you just said that you didn't want me to.
Brent,
so now you're going back on that. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'll allow this.
You're terrible. Nobody cares what you'll allow. I'm going to answer it because I want to answer it. The answer is Luis Diaz. I think it's pretty obvious why from the way that he plays. He has all the freaking talent in the world, but he just can't get it over the line to get that goal or an assist, apparently.
Have you been sitting on that answer this whole time? Because you came up with this question, like maybe 6 weeks ago? Like, did you have an answer at that point?
No. That
Okay.
was a question that I completely made up off the top of my head and definitely didn't use a website to find.
Oh no, I totally did that. I shamelessly looked up like icebreaker questions to start coming up with some of this shit.
Okay.
All right. Yep, that was the end of that segment.
The
So
best
Drabs,
part
it's
of that
back to you.
segment was all the multiple multi-second lengths of silence.
Yeah,
Well, that's Drabs' fault.
It's good radio. It's Brent for failing to handle the one goddamn part of this podcast we asked him to do.
Well, I'm not a
It's not like you're
podcast host, so I
producing
don't
or
know why
anything.
you would expect me to be good at that.
All right, moving the fuck on. Let's award some man balls here, fellas. And
John, you go first.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
hate you so much. Fucking Brent. Fucking Brent.
I really honestly have no idea who to give these man balls to. I guess I'm just going to give one to Giassi for congrats on scoring your 10th goal of the year. You didn't necessarily mean to, but sometimes that's just how it works. You know, you're in the right place at the right time. You were where you're supposed to be, and it went in. That's great. My other one, I guess I'll give to, I don't know. What's his name? Tarbell, the backup goalie. I feel like he's done decent. We've been losing with him in goal, but I don't necessarily feel like it's been his fault. So I think he's been pretty impressive in all of his times that he's played so far, and I think this might be the first time in a while where I felt like we have a really good backup goalie, potentially for the first time since like the Hesmer Grunebaum situation.
Brent, you're allowed to go next. Go next.
Drabs, why don't you go ahead?
God. All right. My first man ball goes to Aiden Morris. I do think he acquitted himself pretty well in the Montreal game. Congratulations, young fella. You know, the future is bright and whatnot. My second one will go to Ima Boateng. He got an assist in the Dallas game coming off the bench and had one of those like instant impact kind of things. I do think he definitely brings something to this roster. And in a week where there wasn't a lot of crew players worth celebrating, he was at least one of them. So there's that. All right.
All right. In a rare moment of clarity, Drabs has a good answer.
Moving on, we don't need to hear anything that Brent has to say.
I am
from
also
this
giving
point
a
on.
man ball to Boateng this week. That assist in like the first 20 seconds that he was on the field against Dallas, that was pretty good. And he also had several moments of some Nagby-like possession where he was just able to keep the ball through a lot of really tight pressure and find some decent passes to make. I actually thought he was fairly impressive comparatively over these last couple of games, comparatively to the rest of the roster, I should say. And then my second man ball this week will go to Giancarlo Stanton for being the most consistent source of offense for the New York Yankees, which I know everybody on this podcast really cares about.
Okay, so one man ball and then one giant fart noise from Brent. You'll love to hear it. All right, well let's preview some games because, as is usual in this shit show of a season, there are 2 games for us to preview before the next time things happen again. I don't have the dates for these right because I can't keep track of all the goddamn show notes. But on the 11th, we have a game against Orlando. In Orlando, they are currently 4th in the East with an 8-2-6 record. John, what are you looking for in this game?
Oh man, I honestly don't know. I think that we should just figure out what we need to do basically at this point to get a tie from this game if we can, and just get that 1 point and run. I mean, I think that point is super precious. Orlando's pretty red hot at the moment. Trying to pull up their form guide real fast so I can see, because I don't believe that they have let's see. Yeah, they have not lost since August 22nd.
Yep. 10 games they have an unbeaten streak, yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're not, in our current form, going to be the one that suddenly goes to their stadium and beats them. So I think that if we can get a draw, that'd be great. I would be thrilled. I did want to point out that I pulled it up, a tweet from Nate Beckman earlier today, who's obviously the mastermind behind the forecaster. He said he didn't have a long form version of it for today, but he said that the target point total for the Supporters Shield is currently down to 48 points. And he also says that if there is a loser on Saturday, that loser will probably be eliminated from contention for the Supporters Shield. So we really need a draw at the very least to remain potentially in contention for that. With Toronto now pulling ahead of everybody, it's looking less and less likely that we're going to be able to hang and that people are going to be able to keep up with them, because they're now the only team that's at 2 or more points per game.
All right. Brent, what are your thoughts? Certainly not an easy game coming up next.
Yeah, definitely not against Orlando. And I'm sure you probably already said this, but this game is away, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
it is
yeah.
In Orlando at Experium
definitely.
Stadium or whatever the fuck it is.
Definitely more challenging than in current form. I mean, what I would like to see is maybe a formation change. And some of the things that we talked about earlier, I would like to maybe see somebody different at right back, give Harry a break, or just, sit him down punitively. Either way you want to go there, whatever. I'd like to see some of those changes. I don't know that we will. So I'm, this just seems like a struggle bus of a game to me.
Yeah, honestly, I hate to say it. This is, Orlando has sucked, and they obviously have had a rage boner against Columbus for quite some time. So I hate to give them credit at all at any point for any reason. But if you actually want to watch a team play attractive attacking soccer, you should watch Orlando this season. They've only lost one time since leaving the bubble, which I suppose is really still a home game for them. And they have, so I touched on this a little earlier, they have 6 guys on their roster who have at least 5 combined goals and assists. So it's Mueller, Nani, Dyke, Michel, Urso, and Pereira. So 3 of them are listed as forwards, 3 of them are listed as midfielders, meaning that they've got danger all over the fucking field. They regularly have 4 and 5 attackers in the box. They move the ball so quick. Like, they are a team that's good at finding the open guy and unbalancing the field. And they'll also just hit you on the counter. Like, they'll have one guy streaking who will beat the entire defense. And I'm not sure the Crew have an answer for that right now. This game is going to be a huge test for Columbus. I think, like John said, regardless of Nate's statistical analysis, I think intuitively, if the Crew lose this game, they're too flat to come back and stampede through the remainder of the season. Whether or not they could get enough points to get the Supporters' Shield, if they don't get a result in this game, they just don't have the chops to come back. And I mean, that's not me being shitty about them. I think it's just factual. This is a do or die game if you want to be a serious Supporters' Shield contender. So yeah. Then we have another game coming up just a scant 3 days after that. For the 537th time this season, lads, Columbus plays Cincinnati. This is in Cincinnati, the friendly confines of Nippert Stadium. Cincinnati has regained their usual terrible form. They are currently 13th in the East with a 3-9-4 record. They haven't won in 4 games. They haven't scored a goal in 4 games. They've only scored 2 goals since leaving the bubble. Their leading scorer has 2 goals total. They've scored 8 goals, given up 26. I don't know how they even managed 3 wins on the season so far. I think, honestly, the kindest thing this team can do is not allow fans into the stadium. It's a fucking shit show down there. It's basically been the entire time they've been in MLS. This serves as my analysis for this game. They fucking suck, and the Crew need to take 3 points away from this game, and they need to score 3 goals minimum to consider that a good result. John, what do you think about this garbage game that's coming up midweek next week?
Yeah, I think this is one of only 2 games on our schedule remaining that I would consider as 100% winnable games. The other one obviously being the only other team that's worse than them in the league right now, DC United, in another week and a half or so, 2 weeks. This game, they have to win it. If they don't win this, then, quite frankly, I don't know. I don't know if they deserve to necessarily even go to the playoffs if they can't beat FC Cincinnati. They need to win this game. They need to win it by multiple goals. It needs to be very convincing. It needs to be potentially the rebound game for them that gives them some renewed sense of confidence and morale boost and, just gets them back on track going into the last stretch of the season and headed into playoffs. I mean, if they can get their head turned back around the right direction with this game, then that'd be great. I'd love to see them use it as a momentum builder going into NYCFC and Houston, who are also, not top tier, but also not knockoffs.
All right. Brent, what do you think about the upcoming shit show on Wednesday?
Yeah, there's really not much to add. It's unacceptable to take anything less than 3 points from this team. We've done it, 3 times now, and we've tied them once. You get that result at this point in the season, and you may as well pack it in because I can't imagine what that would do to your mindset and your confidence if you somehow let them steal a draw from you, even in their place. Granted, they're going to be doing their, super deep, park the bus, bunker game, whatever. You solved it before. You better solve it again. Come away with 3 points.
Score early, score often, just like voting, right? That's how that works. You vote early and often, Brent?
Yes, I've definitely already cast my ballot.
Okay. But did you vote often?
Probably about 20 times so far.
Nice. Okay. Moving on. Let's before we get into some predictions for this week's game, let's recap what happened last week. We have 2 games that we predicted last week, and we're going to start off with the Dallas game, the actual result of which is a 2-2 draw, as they say in the soccer biz.
Oh my
Brent
God,
Miller.
imagine making fun of people for predicting a draw. I mean, could you imagine being
Brent,
stupid,
Brent,
John?
Hey, Brent, hey.
Brent, I can never imagine being that stupid.
Yeah. Brent Miller, you took the cowardly route in this game and very, very fearfully predicted a 2-2 result.
Which was the correct result.
While that was eventually the correct result, I guess you get 15 points or whatever. John Zidar, you also very cravenly, with no courage whatsoever, predicted a 2-2 draw against Dallas, so you get 15 points also. Darby Schnarfus, the boldest of all the predictors, you predicted a 0-1 loss. And while that was a correct score at one point
in the crew, Darby? Why do you
in the game, while that was a correct score at one point in the game,
you mispronounced dumbest.
While that was a correct score at one point in the game, you were wrong. It was a 2-2 draw. You get 0 points. Moving on to the Montreal game.
Darby, your score prediction was only correct for 9 minutes.
It was still a correct
Whereas
score.
Brent and I's will be correct for the rest of eternity.
My 9 minutes will still be correct for eternity, as those 9 minutes being correct.
Your 9 minutes won't even be remembered.
That's what every sex partner of mine has ever said. Moving on to the Montreal game. The actual results against Montreal, as we all know, was a horrendous ball-slapping 2-1 loss. Brent Miller, you predicted a 3-1 Crew victory. That was literally the wrongest prediction you could make, and you get no points for it. John Zidar, you predicted a 3-0 Montreal Crew victory. That was the second wrongest prediction you can make, and you also get 0 points. Darby Schnarfus, you predicted the most realistic, the most courageous, the most dangerous prediction in soccer, a 2-1 Crew victory. It was actually a Montreal 2-1 victory.
Yeah.
You lose 15 points.
Man, what a swing.
Moving on to the prediction standings. In last place, with a paltry 5 points, Morgan, #RestHughes. In third place, with 50 points,
Darby Schnarfus.
Still not having moved up the rankings at all, Brent Miller.
No, I don't think that's the way that works. I think if you fall into a tie for last place, you're the lowest.
You have been in third place the entire season. You shut your dirty butthole.
I don't think that's accurate.
In second place, Darby Schnarfus, 50 points. This week,
nope.
For the
not
first
in
time,
second place. Nope.
For the first time,
go back and fix the record, Dan Cordemanch. What place are you in?
Current continuing champion for the moment until all my predictions are right once again. But for now, continuing champion with 60 points, John Zidar.
Yeah. All right, let's hear it, folks. Let's hear it. Here we go. He's the champion. He's the number one champion, boy. Woo, buddy. You love to see it. All right, Darby, how's it feel to be down there in last place, Darby? You hate to see it. I can't even barely see you all the way down there, Darby.
That's because your own head is up your own butthole, John.
Well, there's this beautiful band up here in this butthole playing this lovely song, so I don't even mind it.
I have heard that you have a full orchestra up your butthole.
I've always kept it there, Darby. You never know when you're going to need them.
All right. Are you done celebrating?
I'm not, but I will. I will, for the sake
you
of
allow-
ending the show. I will take a reprieve.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. All right. So moving on to score predictions for this week. First, let's give our score predictions for Orlando. So let's let perennial third place person Brent Miller go first because he deserves our pity.
All right, we're not going to do anything until you set the record straight and tell the people what place you're really in, since you misspoke earlier.
Brent,
looking at
do you have a score prediction?
I am looking at the prediction standings in the Google Doc, and you are listed second, Brent. Actually.
Oh, weird. That little cursor with John Zidar's name just conspicuously moved away from the prediction standings where things got swapped around. Here, wait, hang on. Let me go back to a previous version of the document, John, because that's a thing we can do in Google Docs.
That's not quite necessary. I don't think we need to do all that, Drabby.
No, it's no problem, Brent. I can really revert it quite easily.
It's funny because there's a screenshot that I have that shows that Darby is actually the one on the prediction standings right now, editing them. Which we know we've caught him doing this before.
You're
right.
a Photoshopman, John. We all know
We've got him doing this twice now.
Photoshop boy.
Yep.
Let's see.
I mean, you just hate to see somebody be such a sore loser that they have to go in and edit the score predictions in the middle.
You do hate to see that. Yep.
John, I have a screenshot that shows changes made to this document. A full history, and the color green is associated with your name.
Oh my gosh! See, now he's like photoshopping.
See, now you're photoshopping
screenshots yeah, right. He's changing things all around.
Yeah. Brent, what's your score prediction? You bleeding butthole.
Let's see. We're talking about Orlando, right?
Yep, Orlando.
I'm going to go 3-1 Orlando.
3-1 to the fighting Nittany Lions of Orlando Footy Soccer Club. Got it. Okay. John, do you want to go next?
Yeah, that's fine. I can go next. I think the Crew are going to lose this game 3-0.
3-0 non-Crew. You hate to see it because I'm going to come in here and I'm going to be the optimistic one. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, right here, right now. Don't listen to Brent. Don't listen to John. The Crew are only going to lose 2-0 to Orlando.
Real optimism there, Darby. Real optimism.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm actually going to change mine real quick.
No,
and I don't care whether or not you allowed or not, Darby. I'm going 3-2 Orlando. I'm going to bump us up by a goal.
1-3 Orlando. You already said it. It's in the audio. Fine. I'll even go back. You can see what's happening here is you're just making it less likely you're going to lose 15 points. You're cheating. Okay. Moving on. This time around, I'll go first for Cincinnati. Mix up the order
so you
here.
think that
why
we're
is he
going
talking?
to win 3-1?
No. I think
that's
it's
what
more,
you just said.
No, that's more likely than us winning 2-3. Wait. Yeah.
What?
No.
What? Darby?
No.
What?
I don't know. I drink a lot.
What's your prediction, Darby?
Cincinnati. I'm predicting a 2-0 Crew victory. I think they'll win, but I think the air's been taken out of their sails. It's 3 points, but it's not going to be pretty, lads. Brent, you go next. We'll let John go last.
All right. Well, I was also going to say 2-0 Crew, but I'm not going to predict the same thing as Darby. So I will go
Crew. All right.
with an incredibly optimistic 4-0 Crew.
Okay.
What? Wow.
Somebody does not want 15 points. Good to know. All right, John. Tell us what's really going to happen against Cincinnati.
I think this Crew team knows this Cincinnati team very well. I think they know how to beat them. They've already done it multiple times. I do not have the belief in the defense that I used to, especially away from home, especially on turf. And so I think the Crew will win, but I think they're going to give up a goal in doing so, and I think they're going to win 3-1.
3-1. The most famous scoreline in ACES radio prediction history, 3-1 Crew.
I'm feeling 3-1, bro.
Feeling 3-1, brah.
Well, shoot.
All right.
I really figured you were going to go 3-0. That's why I didn't say it. I'm not changing. I'll stick with the 4-0. But
I did think about it, but the defense has not convinced me they can keep a shutout anymore. So
against Cincinnati, though?
Yeah.
But on turf, at their house,
it doesn't really matter much. But hey,
it's our house.
John, I honor the fact that you're not taking the easy route and predicting a shutout against Cincinnati.
Thank you very much.
All right. Brent, what'd I miss? What'd I forget? What other shit do you want to talk about me unnecessarily?
No shit. I appreciate that you went out and spent your time and money to improve your backyard watch party experience.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we've by the time the season's over, we'll have a hell of a setup. But since
I do wish you had left the fire pit out, though.
The thing is,
the fire pit away.
It's more that I'm out of wood. I need to order some and make somebody bring more wood to my house. Because I'm sick of buying, bundles at the
You heard it here
store.
first, folks. Darby needs his wood.
Yeah.
If anybody has some wood that they can just make a delivery of to Darby's house, that'd be great.
If you could bring your wood and then just dump your load right on my driveway, I would love that.
Darby,
I'm so excited for that to be a drop.
You're going to wake up with Orb Gardening masturbating onto your driveway.
Wouldn't be the first time.
That bucket of semen that Charles Campinas has been saving up is just gonna slather it on there.
Have you seen the number of children he has? He's clearly not saving his semen.
He's saving it somewhere, just not in a bucket. Saving it inside of his wife.
All right. Well, I guess is it now the time where where I ask if we do the whisper thing, and then I do the whisper thing, and then neither of you whisper, and I look like an asshole?
If you think you look like an asshole, those are your words.
All right. Well, just for the sake of history and tradition, and all Lord Guillermo's people said,
Darby looks like an asshole.
Aww. That made me not look like an asshole by saying I look like an asshole.
But you didn't whisper.
Didn't make me look like an asshole.
Fuck.
I mean, that's how you always look, so I don't really know what changes there.
It was over, Brent. Shut up.
Speaking of looking at assholes,